Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of In Pit Lane. Well, as you can see, we are coming to you live from the studios of RMIT Student Television here in the heart of Grand Prix City, Melbourne, and the Grand Prix, of course, coming back. We'll have more news on that a little bit later on in the program. Of course, it's been so incredibly insane everywhere. Trying to plan for anything at the moment is almost impossible. Trying to plan for the show was almost impossible. Things changing from one second to the next. Imagine trying to plan a race meeting. So many meetings have been cancelled, but coming up, fingers crossed, coming up this weekend on Sunday down at Phillip Island, there will be a race meeting. Now, if you're a spectator, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to make it there, but it's August access from the Phillip Island Auto Racing Club, and Warren Reid from PIARC is going to join us a little bit later on in the program to talk about, well, they might have just stumbled onto a winning formula here. We'll find out more about that in just a moment. But joining me once again, before we go, also let you know that one of the things that is back in the studio, we have live music. We're going to be joined once again by Emily Daye, is going to join us a little bit later on in the show, so stay tuned for that. She's going to be playing us out a little bit later on in the show. Doc's sitting alongside me, and Doc, it's been fairly chaotic, hasn't it?
It's crazy, not just a crazy. I'm glad we're just in the same spot together for a change. It's been a weird, but look, how's your cracked engine going at the moment? Are they able to fix yours lately?
I don't. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Max, bit of breaking news. Max Verstappen has a cracked engine in the last hour.
Yes, right, okay, that's what that's about.
And Red Bull Racing is working out whether they can fix it or not. So stay tuned to that one for later on.
That has that. There are consequences of that whole weekend. In fact, let's talk about the whole weekend and what happened at the Hungaro Ring. Let's find out that and a whole lot more as we head to the In Pit Lane Motorsport News. Esteban Ocon has broken through for his first win in Formula One after a chaotic Hungarian Grand Prix. The Frenchman's unlikely victory came after almost a quarter of the field was eliminated at the first corner. In wet conditions, Mercedes driver Valtteri Bottas decided to try his hand at cricket, successfully clean bowling Lando Norris and starting a chain reaction that involved Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. Aston Martin's Lance Stroll also misjudged his pace into turn one, wiping out himself and Charles Leclerc and spinning Daniel Ricciardo. Verstappen and Ricciardo were able to restart, but both suffered damage that cost them valuable race pace. Lewis Hamilton's chance at the win ended at the restart after a serious strategic error by the Mercedes team. On a drying track, Hamilton stayed out while the entire rest of the field came in for slicks. He also changed one lap later, but that mistake dropped him back to last. Regardless, he drove back through the pack to finish second after Sebastian Vettel was disqualified after the race for not providing an adequate fuel sample. Verstappen was ninth, but he now loses the title lead to Hamilton as the teams go into their summer break. And Aston Martin have announced their intention to appeal the penalty to Vettel that cost them his second place. The team argued that it had at least 1.44 litres left in the car, but somehow could only extract the 300 millilitres for some unknown reason. The team has now appealed so it can try and remove the rest of the fuel and try and find the reason why they couldn't empty the tank. And new championship leader Lewis Hamilton, who looked most distressed on the podium following the race, said that he's still suffering from the long-term effects of COVID-19. Hamilton was late to the post-race press conference after Mercedes confirmed he was with the team doctor after suffering from fatigue, blurred vision and dizziness. The seven-time champion was forced to miss the final race of last year after testing positive to the virus. Ferrari has broken the long run of victories for German marques in the Spa 24 hours with a thrilling win last weekend. A late race pass by the Iron Lynx driver Alessandro Pierguidi gave the Italian marque their first win in the Around-the-Clock Classic since 2004. The Ferrari dominated much of the race's second half, but was caught out by a late race downpour that handed the advantage to Audi Sport Team WRT's Audi R8 LMS after switching to wet tyres moments before the heavens opened. But they ultimately fell 3.9 seconds short thanks to the brilliance of Pierre Guidi, who charged down a 40-second deficit in the final minutes of the race. The Garage 59 Aston Martin completed the overall podium. Of the three Aussies in the race, Josh Burden was the highest finisher in 12th place, with Jordan Love 21st outright. Matt Campbell failed to finish. Don Schumacher Racing swept the Nitro categories for the first time in the 2021 NHRA season on Sunday at the 61st annual NHRA Winter Nationals at Pomona. Leah Pruitt capped off the Western Swing with her first win since 2019 in a solo run after opponent Justin Ashley wasn't able to make the run. Ron Katz grabbed his first win of the year in the final round of Funny Car against J.R. Todd. It is the 67th career win for the former world champion and also gives him the points lead in this year's championship chase. In Pro Stock, it was Aaron Stanfield who picked up his second straight win and the third in 4 races by knocking off points leader Greg Anderson in the final round. And Matt Smith continued to stay a step ahead of everyone in Pro Stock Motorcycle, picking up his 4th win of the season in the final round against Angel Sampi. And we end on the sad news that a volunteer marshal has died after an incident at the Brands Hatch circuit in England over the weekend. Robert Foote was a former mayor of Epsom and a current councillor for Epsom and Ewell Borough Council. Many in the sport have paid tribute, including Lewis Hamilton, George Russell and Lando Norris. Mr Foote was 67. In Pit Lane sends our condolences and appreciation to Mr Foote's family, friends and colleagues. And that's the In Pit Lane news for the week commencing Monday, the 2nd of August 2021. We'll have more news next week. Yes, very sad news out of Brands Hatch regarding the marshals. I mean, we've got a very close relationship with our volunteer marshals here on In Pit Lane. As we've said a million times before, without the volunteer marshals, there is no motorsport. There is at any level, up to and including Formula One, and they do put themselves out there. They work incredibly long hours in often the worst conditions, and they're often in very dangerous conditions as well. So our appreciation to all the marshals out there. But that was a very sad situation on the weekend. But so all the marshals, we do appreciate everything that you do. We're going to take a break in just a moment on In Pit Lane, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about what's coming up this Sunday down at Phillip Island. Now, unfortunately, no spectators due to the current situation, but, we'll be down there to wave a camera, I believe, so we'll bring you some news on that next week on In Pit Lane. It's called August Access, and it's happening at Phillip Island this Sunday as a one-day meeting, and Warren Reid from PIARC will be joining us straight after this break to talk more about it. You're watching In Pit Lane here on Channel 31 and on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel and wherever you see fine video and podcasts and any good butcher shop. We'll be back in just a moment. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to In Pit Lane. Well, coming up this weekend down at Phillip Island is a meeting that has been sort of on again, off again, on again, and has basically come together, been pulled together very, very quickly under these very difficult circumstances. It's called August Access, and judging by the number of people who are entered already, it's looking like to be quite a success. To talk about the meeting and what's happening down at Phillip Island for the rest of the year, from Phillip Island Auto Racing Club, Warren Reid. Warren, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Well, first of all, let's talk about August Access. I mean, just quickly, I mean, it was planned for, and it was going to be a 2-day meeting. It's now a 1-day meeting, but that hasn't put anybody off, has it? In fact, quite the opposite. You've got really good fields for this weekend.
We have got really good fields. We've got a good field of V30 BMWs. We've got a good field of 2-litre sports sedans, and we've filled out part of the program where we had people coming from Sydney who can't come down now. We've got a all-in tin tops, not quite that, closed touring cars event, which has attracted over 50 entries at the moment.
Well, it's so popular. I know our own Richard Outram is taking the Excel down. There's quite a few Excels down there, but there's also some seriously quick cars. I think there's at least one Trans Am cars, a few sports sedans entered. It's So, and there's been so many and such a diverse range of cars, you've now split them into 2, haven't you?
Yes, to comply with the CAM's 130% rule, we've split it into 2 different groups so that we can cater for everybody almost, everybody from the slower cars up to the really quick cars.
Congratulations on being the biggest, the most popular kid on the block at the moment. You're bursting the seams, as Brett just said down there. Is there an ability to add more, I'm not sure of your restrictions down there, add more events throughout the year? Do you have a certain amount of events that you have to stick to, Warren, or you can add, obviously it all depends upon the volunteers and the committee and everyone who's capable of doing it too.
We can. We were looking at one in September, adding something in September, but we do have a September meeting anyway going ahead. But the COVID restrictions in New South Wales are preventing a lot of competitors from being able to get down to Victorian events. And it's a real problem trying to plan an event at the moment. So we've taken that September back to where we're planning it for just Victorian competitors at the present time, rather than looking to pull people from interstate, because it's just becoming a nightmare to plan at the present time. Island Magic coming round in November is probably one where we will be able to
expand
it, still have the interstate competitors hopefully back, and end the year on a big note.
Because that's going to be around, Island Magic this year is going to be around of the National Sportsman Series as well. I think even the Formula Fords might be down there for a national round as well.
I don't know about that at the moment, but we'll see how it all works out. We're still planning things at the present time.
The problem we've got at the moment is because so many things have been cancelled and because so many things have sort of, changed at the last minute, we now have a second half of the year where, it's a real logjam. And we were talking about volunteer marshals before. How much do you take into account the fact that you're going to have volunteer marshals? Sometimes there's going to be 2 or 3 meetings on the same weekend, often 3, 4, 5 in a row. How much do you look at that and say, look, we really can't push this, it's just not fair on the volunteers?
Yeah, we do look at that quite a bit, and that's part of the problem with organising race meetings when you've got them all crammed into this end of the year. We like to look after our marshals. We're a club built around looking after the competitors and the marshals as well, both parts of the sport. And the whole idea is that we have to look after the marshals and look after them. It restricts the number of events you can do, really. There is a limited number of people who have a limited number of time, and they can't spend all their time at a racetrack. It's about why we're running an August access, then we're running a September, and then we're into November. We actually have two events in November. You try to spread them out so that we're not calling too much on all these people who are giving their time for nothing. Down there.
Just on that then, the next 12 months, you have to probably put a calendar together at some stage and sit down with it and probably plan, because it looks in society, it looks like we are going to be making things back to some sort of normal next year. Have you got categories that want to come on board, or are you going to rejig things a little bit next year? It'd be fantastic, because I'm sure everyone's knocking at the door wanting to come down there.
We have a lot of categories who want to get involved. We've had interest from the production cars. We've had interest from the radicals, from which most of them are in Sydney once again, and the prototype cars to come down and run in some of our events down there. This is all really good for the future, and if we can get out of these COVID problems, it'll be great. We had an event in May, a state race meeting in May, and we actually had spectators there, which was marvellous to get spectators along to an event again. But this one coming up in August this weekend, is spectator free. Sorry, no spectators. But reason this was called August Access too is because it's supposed to be set up for people, not the top line categories or any of that, the people who are the grassroots of motorsport to come down and run in. And that includes, in a way, the officials. It's supposed to be our training ground as well, to bring the officials into different roles, let them work in different parts of the sport that they're normally not working in, and give them a place to show how good they are.
Well, it should be certainly should be an interesting Sunday down there. We'll find out a bit more about it when we come back. We're going to take a break now here on In Pit Lane, but when we come back, we're going to be once again joined by Warren Reid. Also, we're going to be joined by Emily Daye, who's going to take us out with some music as well. You're watching In Pit Lane on Channel 31, right across Melbourne and Geelong. We'll be back right after this break. Live music back to the stage in the studio again. It's fantastic. This is Emily Daye and Fine.
Woohoo!
waking up on the wrong side of bed for a while. Thought I'd try a different style. Sift through wardrobe scenes, pretend I'm a fashion queen. Smiles bursting at the seams. Been lost on my way to go to the kitchen for food. My phone's distracting in every mood. Scrolling photos and memes of a life that's not mine. Yeah, I'm just passing time, and it feels fine. Just wasting time, I'm feeling fine. Start work from home wearing trackies and Ugg boots. No need for heels or fancy suits. Click mute on the call and yawn through it all. They may as well just talk to the wall. Quick chats with the lads, dreaming of better days in a place that leaves us feeling fine. Passing time, just wasting time, and feeling fine. Kick back at the end of the day with the food that I like and a diet that has gone on stroke. Binge watch TV shows and invest in them all for a time. Can't you see that I'm in my prime? I'm posting photos and memes of a life that's not mine. Yeah, I'm just passing time, and it feels fine. Just wasting time, I'm feeling fine. Been waking up on the wrong side of bed for a while. Been waking up on the wrong side of bed for a while.
The show may be over, but the motorsport chat continues with Full Course Yellow, the In-Pit Lane After Party. We're on the In-Pit Lane YouTube channel live most Thursday nights at 9:30, straight after In-Pit Lane here on Channel 31. So, why not join us? Yes, why not join us indeed, coming up directly after In-Pit Lane here on Channel 31, Thursday nights at around 9:30 Melbourne time. Our guest tonight is Warren Reid from PIARC, Phillip Island Auto Racing Club. And Warren, PIARC, I mean, has been around for a long time, and people, obviously associate the club with the circuit. What's the relationship between the club and the circuit? Because you guys don't own the circuit.
We don't own the circuit. We built it in the early 50s and opened it in 56, but subsequently it's gone through a few owners, and currently we have a really good working relationship with the current owners. They assist us in helping get something like this one-day event that we've got this coming weekend. We've worked very closely with them to make sure we can get an event on in these circumstances and make a good event. So we're looking to make it all work.
Just on that relationship, you share a birthday with a part of the circuit there as well then too, a little whisper I heard as well. You turned a recent hidden age, and so did Phillip Island Racing Club.
Pretty close, yes. It's a bit of a worry, yeah.
How's that? I won't give away any.
I don't want to give that away. I'm getting older.
That's all right. But you celebrated the birthday?
Yeah.
Not yours personally. I mean the club.
The club has certainly celebrated a birthday, and it's the club was formed in 51, so that'll tell you what birthday it was. And the club,
well after yours, though, of course, many moons after yours.
The club was before mine. The club was formed in 51 and had the circuit ready in 56 and opened it in 56. Was formed to build the circuit, and circuit opened 56. Club ran it for a number of years until it started to fall apart. And it was sold to Len Lukey back in those days.
As in the Lukey Heights and Lukey exhaust?
Yeah, and Lukey mufflers and whatever. Yeah, so Len owned it for a number of years, rented it back to the club until he unfortunately passed away. and it wasn't used for about 10 or 12 years there, because the surface had deteriorated and it was up for sale, and lots of things sort of got in the way. And
just on that, then you did a few upgrades on it last year, in the year and a half leading up to it. What was some of the feedback you got for some of the corners and the upgrades you did that would have been? I hope it was warmly received. Is that correct?
Definitely. The circuit put a lot of money and effort into changing a number of things around the circuit, making the runoff areas better in some places, making an extra way around turn 4. If you go off straight ahead there, you've got a way back onto the track without coming.
Yes, that's now the penalty. That's now the penalty area for the MotoGP. So hopefully,
double whammy.
Hopefully Jack Miller and the boys won't be going onto that area.
The long lap on the MotoGP. That's right.
Well, being ready for 1956 and the completion, it should have been part of the Olympic Games back then, shouldn't it?
That's right.
Everyone's been calling it motorsport, race car racing should be in the Olympic Games.
But I think we were racing at Albert Park in '56, weren't we?
Yeah, certainly were. That was the Olympic Grand Prix, and that's a story in and of itself.
Yeah.
Listen, no, thanks for coming in and joining us. Warren came in at the last minute when our original guest took a bit ill, and of course, if you take a bit ill at the moment, where you don't come in just in case, but hopefully that will come up. He'll be joining us very, very soon. But Warren, good luck with this weekend with August Access, and for the rest of the year and beyond with Phillip Island Auto Racing Club. But for now, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Thank you for having me, and we're looking forward to Sunday.
And indeed, so are we. And joining us right now to take us out, live music back in the studio with Emily Daye. She's one of Melbourne's top singer-songwriters, and you can hear her in all sorts of places, Facebook, YouTube. You can see all the details there. Fine releases early November, but right now she's going to take us out with her song Pretend. So until we see you next week, ladies and gentlemen, this is Emily Daye and Pretend. Good night.
First time I laid eyes on you, you were sitting at that bar. You were on your first drink. Your friends had gone a little too far. And I'll picture you as I pretend you walk my way. And I'll dream of you as you take my breath away. Oh, 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 it can't hurt to imagine. Oh no, it can't hurt to pretend. For the moment, and so you listen to that story your friends told a million times, over and over, and I stare at you from afar, but you won't notice me. No, you won't notice. It can't hurt to imagine. Oh no, it can't hurt to pretend. For the moment, ooh, and I picture everything